Hi there, this is Christian Dye with Latitude West Financial, and this goes out to the first years at UBC Dentistry, my greatest advice ever series. And today we've got Sean Monty, who is now in fourth year, joining us, one of my valued clients, who's going to give us his advice as to what the first years sort of want to avoid and what they want to do in their time at UBC. So, quick reminder, if you haven't already joined my Instagram, it's a great way to share information. It's a great way to have a little bit of fun because I post a question of the week and I will deliver you a $50 gift card weekly. So, it's at Latitude West Financial if you haven't already joined it. So, Sean, let's get right into it with advice for first year. So, I'm going to kind of moderate a little bit. And you're now in your fourth year. So, of course, you've actually seen, you were a first year and you've seen what other first years have done for a couple of years now. Why don't we start with things like do's and don'ts? What are your big do's and don'ts for the first years?
Yeah, thanks, Christian. So one of the big things to keep in mind with dental school is the competition is over for the most part. So in order to get into school, you're competing with all of your undergraduate colleagues, to get a very coveted spot in dental school. And I've found that the most important thing throughout all of dental school, but starting especially in first year, is to kind of get rid of the competition mindset and work more collaboratively with each other. Everybody's going to graduate with the same degree. So, one person having better grades versus the other literally doesn't matter anymore. And you will get a lot more out of your experience by working together. So, one of like my big don'ts, I suppose, is to not try to go through dental school solo. Really, get a small group of people, study together, quiz each other, like help each other learn and grow in the dental industry, and you'll be a lot better off. Um, Dental school is a pretty intense time, and the best way to get through it is to get through it together. So, yeah, one of my big things is for sure, don't do it solo. Yeah, get some good friends and work on things together.
Yeah,
However that looks this year with Zoom or whatnot.
yeah, that's definitely a great piece of advice, and I've heard that same piece of advice before about don't try to do it on your own, especially, some people maybe an undergrad kind of did do that. Maybe they work well kind of by themselves, but I think you definitely want to attach yourself with groups of people. And right now, in terms of the climate that you went through in the past years, would you say that try to join other groups to get some diversity, or do you find people were more successful when they have a core group and they kind of all knew each other and they kind of went it all through together? What was your experience there?
In my class, a lot of people kind of, um, yeah, they kind of had their own core group of people that would study together. And by doing that, you kind of like get to know other people's study habits and other people's like how they work, and you can develop a good working relationship within your group. Um, Not to be like too clicky though. It is important to, like get to know everybody in your class because they're going to be your colleagues, for the rest of your life. And more than likely, you'll be working probably in the same town as some of them. And it's good to have people to refer to and foster good relationships even out of school. So starting that in first year and like, don't get into the trap of falling into like a weird little clique. That can sometimes happen, but yeah, just working with everybody in your classes is definitely a good option for sure.
Yeah, and some tiny little tricks or things that you've seen as well regarding lecture notes, because I know some professors will release this prior, and some students will review them prior, get a head start. And except the only thing is time is now the issue, and sometimes they're kind of burning the candle at both ends if they have to preview the lecture notes and study the old notes that have already been given. In terms of lecture notes, do you have any advice as to how to manage the enormous amount of information that's being given to you? Or do you find that it is good to pre-read them if they are released to you, or study them? What's your opinion?
Um, so for studying, I find that, there are different strokes for different blokes. Um, Myself, what I did, and a lot of people thought it was it was pretty crazy, but I'm definitely a morning person. So uh, I definitely advise people to get into a routine and to not, cram to the very last minute because there's just too much information to really know it well. So my routine was to be on campus at 6 a.m. Monday to Friday, and I would do 2 hours of self-studying, whether that's reviewing the lectures for the day or going over what we went over in previous lectures, um, making note packages, just summarizing everything. So in my routine, I was guaranteed 2 hours every morning um, to study. And for me, that really helped because at the end of the day, I was just completely zombied. You're focused all day, especially on Zoom. Zoom fatigue is a real thing. Um, After a full day of lectures, you're just totally dead tired. And the last thing I ever wanted to do was to keep studying into the evening. So the way that I arranged it for my own schedule was to get up early and get my studying done while I was still fresh in the day. That way I was guaranteed to at least review something. And then I wouldn't feel guilty at all if I, was done my last lecture at 5 and then just chilled for the rest of the night. But for a lot of people, they don't want to get up that early. So even if you do the opposite, you sleep in, go to your morning lecture, and then you study in the evening, I think the biggest thing is to just get yourself into a routine. So no matter what, like I'm always studying from 6 in the morning till 8, or I'm always studying from 5 till 7 p.m., something like that really helped.
Yeah, I'd like to chime in here to kind of remind my audience that the many, many, many years I put into UBC, because all four of my university degrees are from UBC, and I did two of them somewhat on a part-time basis when I was juggling a family, my two master's degree. And one of the routines I often got into was that I realized that the human brain has high levels of attention and low levels of attention. And the tasks that we need to do throughout the day demand high levels of attention and low levels of attention. And so, what I would try to do is high levels of attention for me usually weren't very first thing in the morning. So, I would go to the gym first thing in the morning because I had a small baby when I was doing my MBA. And when I'd go to the gym, I would do something that just required not too high of a level of attention. So I would go on a stationary bike and I would bring case studies with me because it's easy. You're either highlighting things or you're underlining or you're getting just familiar with the case. And then the high level of attention I would need is when I was studying sort of in a library or in my office. And that would usually be midday after a lecture or something of that sort. And then at the end of the day, when my brain was completely zonked, I would essentially go through emails, things that just they had to be done, but not a lot of brain power was needed. And that was my routine. And actually, today I still do something very, very similar. Go to the gym in the morning. We'll do very low end activity, multitask while I'm actually on the stationary bike. But I think everyone's going to find something that works for them. But I think that's my message to people is to find something that works, but it doesn't have to be what other people are doing because that's them. Like you're right, Sean. Not everyone's going to want to get up early. Their brain doesn't work well that way. Some people do quite well actually staying up quite late. That's definitely not me. I need a good night's sleep, but some people actually work better that way.
For sure. One other piece of advice that I have, and in first year, you're like super keen to get behind the handpiece um, and to start like, practicing dental skills on a mannequin head. And you guys have night practice on, oh, sorry, that's the second years. Yeah. So when you guys get night practice, I definitely recommend going as often as you can. That'll start next year. But yeah, it's all just like time behind the notes, time behind the handpiece, just get into a routine and stick with it.
Yeah, that brings up another good point is, whenever there's sort of an extra weekend session or an extra lecture, how did you sort of find, did you feel that trying to go to all those things was a bad idea because you might burn yourself out, or going to every single one of them is a good idea because you never know what great tidbit you're going to get?
I like going to as many like extra things as I can, whether that's night practice or, a webinar like this one. I think it's really good because this is information that is not necessarily built into the curriculum of the school, and it gives you lots of good real world tips. There's a lot of like dental CE webinars that are happening now on weekends, and they're free to attend. And yeah, they give you kind of a good realistic outlook as to what dentistry looks like not at school.
No, that's great. That's great. Talk to us a little bit about the importance of like your grades, getting A's or 90% or things of that sort, and how that kind of, when is it relevant and when is it not so relevant?
Yeah, so again, dental school is very different than your undergrad, where getting as high of a GPA as you can made all the difference. Now, kind of the mantra that you'll hear is 60P gets DMD. So you just need 60% to pass. And, if your classmate squeezes by with 60% and everything and they have a great time in dental school and you really stressed and got 99% in everything, you're both coming out with the same degree. You'll probably come out with different levels of education, which is important in my opinion, but you definitely don't need to stress about the little things in dental school. And I personally have not looked at my grades in 4 years. Um, that is a little bit different if you're planning on specializing, which you may or may not know at this time. For specialties, they do look at your grades. So looking at your grades might, and like trying hard might benefit you if you're wanting to specialize, as well as getting good research, volunteer hours done. A lot of specialties look at that. But yeah, if you are just wanting to go into general dentistry, like try hard to learn as much as you can while you're in school, but definitely don't sweat the grades. Everything also is valued at such a low percentage because you only get one grade at the end of the year. Each class kind of is worth a percentage of your just first year mark. And so each assignment and each quiz and stuff that you do is worth like maybe 1%. There was a lot of stuff that we did that was worth like less than a percent. So if you did not so well on a certain quiz or an assignment, like in the grand scheme of things, it really doesn't matter and it is not worth stressing over.
Yeah, I've heard this as well before, which is why I almost feel that people should try to get a handle on what they want to do with dentistry. If they want to specialize in oral surgery or something of that sort, this is what I do for my community. And if they wanted to do that, I would actually say to try to find someone who is an oral surgeon specialist in their residency or someone who's already completed it. The school might be able to help you to find that person. I know with me, if any of my clients were to just ask me, I would just quickly look at my database and try to pair them up. I've never had any of my clients ever say no to speaking with a younger client talking to them, and really getting it from the horse's mouth, so to speak. Hearing what they say, hearing how tough it was, or the competitiveness, or hearing about what they did in order to what was it, a greater importance on the grades, or greater importance of the volunteer hours, or a greater importance of the extra papers, because I sort of will admit I'm not a specialist when it comes to that field, but getting it from someone who's already walked that path, talking about schools in the US versus schools in Canada. So that would be my advice for someone who was thinking of specializing. Speak to someone earlier rather than later, because what you might find is maybe that the grades in those first year, there was less emphasis or more emphasis on something else, or maybe the reverse. But I do agree that everyone's going to try hard in dentistry, but where they focus, I believe, is what's going to make the difference. For people who are obsessed and all of their focus goes to getting straight A's, I think they're doing themselves a disservice. Other people might have, they want to be really fast with their hands. Again, another fantastic piece of education. Or some people, and this is, I guess, where I get involved a little bit more. They go to every single workshop and webinar because they really, really are looking at the business side of dentistry, and they know it's a 4-year window where they could learn this stuff, and they really, really want to come out knowing as much business education as possible. And of course they want to complete their dental education. um, Sean, talk to me about what you do to deal with stress and what you sort of see with your classmates. Is burnout a real thing? Do you sort of find that there's two camps, people who can balance it and people who can't? What do you think?
Yeah, again, everybody has their own outlets. For me, going for trail runs or just like being outside, like getting out into the mountains is my big thing. So, definitely making time for yourself is important. There is absolutely a deficit of time in dental school. You can pour 24 hours a day, 7 days a week into studying, and you still won't feel like you're learning everything. And that's not at all what you should do. Whether you go to the gym every day, whether you go for just an hour walk outside every day, um, doing something to just kind of like keep your wellness up, because it's a very slippery slope, and you definitely need to keep like a tight eye on your wellness, because it's very easy to like tunnel vision yourself into getting stressed and overworked. So, yeah, having an outlet that you prioritize over, getting an extra hour of studying done, is, I think, very important. Also, like socializing, I think, is also important as well. It's a little bit hard in this environment with COVID, and I imagine for you guys, it's kind of hard to get to know your classmates. But I think making an effort to get some small group people, have like a little coffee date out in the field behind JBM, and get to know each other, and maybe do like a weekly thing where Friday after class, a small group of you like has like a socially distant thing. Um, I think that'll be very important. Usually, the DUS hosts a lot of events for students, and I'm on the DUS and am involved in planning activities for you guys. This year is very different compared to previous years, and so there's going to be a lot less opportunity to built into the schooling to socialize with people and to have an outlet to kind of let loose a little bit. So I think it'll be very important this year in particular to really prioritize your wellness, and keep your finger on the pulse of that, so you don't burn yourself out, because it's very easy to do.
Yeah, one of the things that my partner and I at Latitude West are doing is we're inviting some first years out for essentially a beer at the gallery on certain Fridays, all socially distanced, and unfortunately, we do have to cap it at a maximum of 4 or 5 people, just so that we're all spaced out correctly at the tables. But we like this idea of something to kind of look forward to. And for us, our big challenge is getting to know the first years, because there's no more lunch and learns, there's no more all of these different things. So by all means, if you see an invite from us to go for a beer at the gallery, first round on us. I think it's a good idea, not just to get to meet me and my team, but also to just have a chance to talk with your classmates. Or I'd like to, potentially invite some people from the upper years, and just to mingle with them. We have to follow the socially distanced guidelines, but at the same time, there is a real experience in schooling by meeting others, and just non-formally having conversation with them, so that they kind of are able to synergize a little bit. So yeah, I think that's a really good idea, to not forget to socialize in some way for your own mental health. So Sean, I want to shift gears a little bit more on the personal side over here. You were one of the people that went the military route in order to get your dental schooling experience. Can you talk to us a little bit about your decision, what it's like for those who are listening, who are maybe potentially thinking of going the military route?
Yeah, the military route has been very good to me. It's not for everybody. There are definitely pros and cons, but for me personally, the reason why I went through that route, the pros like vastly outweighed the cons. And especially this year, I'm really feeling very grateful for like making that decision, just because of COVID and not having to worry about getting a job and feeling underexperienced when I graduate. I'm hoping by the time you guys are in like my position in fourth year, looking to graduate, that things will change. But for me this year, um, it's really like taken a lot of weight off my shoulders that I know a lot of my classmates have. But financially, the military is a no-brainer in my opinion. School is very expensive, and by the end of your fourth year, you will likely be $350,000 into your line of credit. That like scared the heck out of me, and I did not want to start my career being, over $250,000 in debt. So how do you do that? And the military is a very excellent path to follow if you want to be like financially sound. So they pay for literally everything for school, whether that's your pencils and erasers, all of your textbooks, clinic shoes, your loops, and the big one is tuition. So school literally costs me $0. On top of that, my salary is somewhere around $75,000 a year to live on. So that goes towards rent and food and entertainment and whatever I want to spend my money on. So you can live quite comfortably while being a student if you go the military way. And to me, that was one of the biggest benefits. Yeah, it also comes with lots of cool adventures. So, one of the downsides is I don't really have any summer vacation where all of my classmates are traveling for 2 months in the summer. I'm off doing military training, whether that's basic training or dental specific training. It happens every summer, and they'll ship you off somewhere. So I've spent 2 summers in Edmonton, working in the dental clinic there under like the supervision and support of the dentist at that base. So after my second year, where all of my classmates weren't able to go and like do dentistry on people because the school's license doesn't allow it after second year, the military can allow it. So I basically worked full time on patients, getting more experience, and then I came into third year feeling a lot more confident in my abilities and in my hand skills when I'm, starting to transition into more full-time patient care at school. So you get a lot of dental experience in the summers. You obviously don't need to worry about money. If you're into other cool adventure stuff, like I've gone on combat helicopter flight trainings, I've been an actor for a mass casualty final exam for field medics. I've gone on rides in fighter jets, tank rides, like lots of cool stuff that you really never get to do as a private practice or as a civilian dentist or somebody not going through the military. So those are all like very cool experiences. The one downside is that you don't really get to choose where you get posted when you graduate. So how it works is this December I get to rank my top 3 bases that I would like to be. And then of those top 3, they may take that into consideration and then give you one of them, providing there is space, but there's no guarantee. So I could be posted anywhere across Canada for 2 to 4 years. So that's not completely in my control. And if that bothers you, then the military is maybe not the best route. But talking to people who, wish they went the military route, they tell me, like, look, in order to make the money that you will make as a dentist in the military, I'm going to have to move somewhere I don't want to live anyways. I'm going to have to move to a small town up north just to make good money. So in light of that, the military is not that bad.
Yeah,
Um, yeah,
I sort of find that I have several clients who join the military. I echo that it is not for everyone. First and foremost, it's not for everyone, but it's kind of like saying, there's a lot of things that aren't for everyone, everything from our choices in vacation to our choices in restaurants. So, first and foremost, if someone was thinking of doing this, I would explore it sooner rather than later. Because I did hear from other students that after a certain year, it doesn't make as much sense because you owe a minimum of 3 years, don't you, Sean?
that's right. Yeah. So there's kind of 2 ways to think about your application. If you want the best bang for your buck and the most financial benefit, applying like literally right now is the best thing to do. So the minimum number of service is 3 years. So if you don't care so much about the money and you want to go through the military, applying in your second year is a good option. And then if you want the most money, financial benefit, applying in the first year makes the most sense. So kind of the rough calculation of time owed is 1 year of school is 1 year of service out. So I got in my first year, so I will owe them 4 years of my time when I graduate. But if I got in my second year, I would only owe them 3 years.
But if you got in your third year, you'd still owe them 3 years, correct?
Yeah, that's right. So it doesn't make sense after second year, in my opinion, unless you wanted to go the military route, anyways.
Yes, yes, yes. But that's again, you're right. You want to look into this because in your first 2 years, either one would make sense. After second year, well, you're a little bit late to the game because you would have had to pay for 2 years of dental school, but you're not receiving that fantastic benefit, and you'd still have to give that 3 years of military service.
Yeah. So one other thing to keep in mind, if you are interested, it does take quite a while for everything to happen with the military. So if you're interested, like there's a few stages you need to go through. You basically fill out an online application and then you wait like up to 3 months for them to give you a time to write an aptitude test. After that, you can wait up to another 3 months for them to give you an interview. And then after the interview, you can wait like another 3 months to actually find out if they accepted you or not. So for me, it was way less time than that. But for others, like I know it has been a very long process. So it's good to think about it sooner rather than later. And in the event that you apply now, and let's say you get accepted in like April, they do retroactively pay all of the tuition and everything that, like all of your schooling costs for that year. So if you apply now and you don't find out that you got until the end of the year, they'll like pay you all of everything for the year at
Interesting.
the end.
No,
Yeah.
that's great. This is really good information, especially for those people who are confused with this. So, shifting gears a little bit, Sean, after your military service, what were some of the things you were planning on doing with dentistry after your service is done?
So my plan is to gain as much clinical experience and speed in the military as I can. Another big bonus is that you get paid a salary. So if I do see one patient a day, for whatever reason, I still get paid the same amount at the end of the day. Whereas as an associate in a private practice, you make what you can produce. So you're really pressed for time. So when I graduate or when I leave the military, I plan on starting my own practice or buying a practice out in the Fraser Valley, and yeah, going from there.
Wonderful. Fraser Valley, because that's where you're originally from.
Yep, that's right. Yeah, my family's from Chilliwack, so I plan on going back there.
Wonderful. And you'll have a good kind of head start. So this blends into your financial goals over here. So right now, owning your own practice and being the principal dentist, hiring associates, that's your in the bucket list of goals.
For sure, yeah. Yeah, owning my own practice and being the principal is definitely in the cards. And then yeah, continuing to invest and become financially sound in other ways other than dentistry as well.
Sure. What were some of the financial interests that you have when you're talking about investments?
For sure, real estate is a big one for me, especially because the military may like send me around to a couple of places. So that kind of gives me an opportunity to invest in communities that I might not otherwise invest in. So real estate across, definitely Canada, and I was able to dabble in the stock market during this COVID time. Christian actually helped quite a lot with that at the beginning with educating me on what to do. And so I do plan on continuing, dabbling in the stock market as well.
Yeah, what I wanted to now talk about is our relationship to let the people listening know kind of how I interact with clients, and you're one of those guys who have come to many of my whether it be social events or workshops. And in our relationship, what are some of the pieces that you sort of found that you got the most out of?
Well, with you, Christian, education has been the biggest sell for me. Um, I'm somebody who likes to know like what is going on with my money and what I should be doing with my money. And um, the fact that you really put a lot of time and weight into educating people on how to, assess a real estate investment or how to analyze a stock instead of just us taking your word for it, is a big value to me. So all of your workshops that you do, um, really set you apart from the other financial advisors, in my opinion, in that regard. Just the education piece.
Yeah, no, and just to remind people as well, I come from an education background. I've taught at the high school and the college level for several years in economics, calculus, finance, and I really loved it just so much. Helping younger people to learn on their own, so that there'll always be a place for me as an advisor. There'll always be a place for me, but I sort of find that a lot of advisors out there, they kind of want to sort of quarterback all of your money, and they want to quarterback all of your financial decisions to and it keeps you in the dark a little bit. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to create something completely different where I was their partner or their coach. And many of the things that they were doing were on their own. And I think one thing that definitely makes me unique is I'm an absolute lover of real estate. And I think that everyone should understand it enough to realize that there is a place for it, and it accelerates wealth. It absolutely accelerates wealth. Again, it's not for everyone because it does have its pros and cons, but the very, very least, I'd like everyone to see it. And also with dental business practice, when we're talking about dentistry, we're talking about ownership, we're talking about hiring associates, dealing with staff, dealing with marketing, dealing with accounting. It's not for everyone, but many people who do want to go into business ownership, they don't know what they're doing and their school doesn't teach them, which completely boggles my mind. Because we do know that the majority of people who go into dentistry would like to own a practice one day, but then they have such little, you in fourth year right now, Sean, was there really anything to help to prepare you to become a dental owner?
Absolutely nothing.
Oh,
Yeah, they like, yeah, completely zero. There is a course called practice management, and I think the idea is to teach us a little bit of the business side of things, but they don't
that, that,
at all. Yeah.
that's taken after you've completed it, isn't it?
The practice management, or
Is that during dental school or is it meant for people who have graduated from dental school?
no, it's during. So it starts in third year and carries on into fourth year. But in third year they talk about things like how to manage conflict in the dental office, and I don't know. For me, it seemed like a lot of um, common sense type things, and they really haven't, at this point, anyways, taught us like how to run a business, how to look at your like financials, how to bookkeep properly. All these very important things are not in our curriculum.
I agree. That's the same message that I got from many people who went through it. Many people graduated afterwards. So I think a lot of my workshops, you said, oh, I've really enjoyed them. A lot of the reasons why they're structured quite well is because they're kind of in partnership with existing dentists. Is how I build them. I said, what is the key things that they would need to know, and then they help to drive that information, which is why often they're very well attended. My dental client workshops, and people are engaged right from beginning to end, and a lot of it is because I get a lot of feedback, and I also don't want to go over anyone's heads. I like doing the absolute basics to ensure that everyone is staying along. So right now, what I want to do is I want to, if there are any questions, you could throw it in the chat, and then I'll keep talking over here. But now is a good time to, if you had any questions for Sean or myself, throw it in the chat, and then we'll field them. But speaking of workshops, while people are typing in their messages, um, the past ones that I've given for my clients have been things like dental practice marketing, accounting, financial statements, real estate investing, my favorite. Also, talking about loan payback strategies and stock analysis. These are the ones that I want to, again, speak more about this coming year. Unfortunately, we'll be having to do this on Zoom, but that's not such a bad thing. I've already done a few in other realms, and I found a neat way to do it with the breakout rooms. And the other nice thing too is that we can still have that rich interaction through Zoom. But for my clients, my Accelerating Wealth workshop series is going to continue this year. We're going to have our first one in November. For those of you who are not clients, but you like the idea of getting this extra piece of education, I highly recommend that you connect with us so that we can get you on our client list over here. But for those of you who are clients who are listening, we want to hear from you. We want to see what are the topics that really, really resonate. And that way we know that you're getting what you're most interested in. So I know right now, one of the pieces of feedback that we would love is our sessions are pretty long. They're about 2 hours long, like a really rich session. We're going to do investing basics. I throw stocks and real estate there, but really the ROI calculator and the way to analyze investment can actually be carried forward into other realms, like even investing in a dental practice. But this is why I call it the basics, the real basics. There's 3 dates we could have it on in November. They're all Saturdays from 9 a.m. till 11. We could do it on the 7th, the 21st, or the 28th. So for sure, for the first years out there who might be interested in attending this session, and by then you will have had a couple opportunities to get to know us if you want to join our practice. I'd love some feedback. I'd like to know which of these dates works the best, because you guys know your schedule, you guys know your exams, you guys know kind of if there's any conflicts of anything else going on. So these are the 3 dates we're working with. So at the end, I'm going to show you guys my email. And for those of us who are existing clients already, and I could see on the webinar there are a few people listening that are existing clients, fire me an email and let me know. Say, Christian, this is the date that I think would work best, and then I'll kind of take it as a poll or a tally, and then I'll finalize that date over there because I want as many people on this as possible. And then we know that some of the other talks we'll be having this year, Dr. Matt Cathan, who owns several dental practices, which he started from scratch, no clients. He is going to be talking to us again via Zoom on what he did during the COVID-19 time, how he kept his dental practice, some of the marketing things he did, and some of the innovative things that he is now doing, such as teledentistry, which I found incredibly interesting. So I cannot wait to hear what he's doing right now, because he essentially is what I'd call my rock star dentist. This is a guy who has been graduated less than 10 years, and he has already, running, I think it's about 5 dental practices, which he started. So he is a real business dental expert. So always getting information from him is fantastic. So that is another workshop that I will be doing this coming year. Last year, we also got into some financial accounting for dentists. I had my partners at Provisions come and lecture, and we were handing out case studies of different dental practices, trying to read the statements as to which ones were, overpriced, or which one we saw the greatest value in. And we were really, really getting into it. We were going to do sort of a 2 to 3 part series. We only got to part 1. Again, I don't want to give this if people don't want it, but if somebody says we want this again, then I would do 2 things. One, I would set up a time to repeat the first session, because that gave us the basics of financial accounting. So for those who missed it, who are my clients, has an opportunity to watch it again. And then I would do a part 2. Those who were there have the opportunity, of course, to now rejoin the group. So if this is a topic that people are very, very interested in, it's just a matter of figuring out what are the topics, and then us all communicating and collaborating a date. But like I mentioned, this will all be done during Zoom for this year, unless something changes in the social distancing arena over there. So, for those of you who have an idea, what does working with me and my team look like? During school, it looks like a lot of education. Disability insurance is usually our first place how we would engage you as a client, but you don't have any investments, you don't have any other corporate needs or anything of that sort. So really, Manulife disability insurance is probably our first starting point. But after that, when you're at Sean's level, when you're in your 4th year, we do a lot of grad financial planning. We try, and with Sean over here and all my other grads of this year, I want to see, what is our first goal. Sean won't have student loans, so paying off his student loans won't be a goal, but for many of my other clients, it is. And I'll do that in our discovery meeting. Our first meeting will be a discovery meeting during your 4th year to say, what are we trying to accomplish in the next few years? But for Sean, for you, it might be buying real estate, because you're probably in a financial position to do so. You've probably saved up money, you've got a down payment, you'll be making very good money at a very, very low cost of housing and expenses while you're in your years of dental military practice. So absolutely we should be investing in real estate because some of the areas you might be going into might have beautiful cap rates. So that those are the types of things we would start to do once you hit fourth year, and then it would continue afterwards. So I actually communicate quite a bit with my clients in their fourth year. For other people not like Sean, they might need help finding a job, and what I would do is I would take a look at figuring out what are the areas that they're interested in, putting my feelers out for my clients who might be in that area. Might be Edmonton, might be on the island, might be here in the lower mainland. So a grad financial plan is a complimentary service I do for all my clients. And this also involves dental associate agreements. They might not know what they're reading about, and I either pair them up with the right lawyer, or I look it over myself if it's just some basic questions. And then for those people who are really interested in owning a business, I do want to set up not only a workshop in order to help them, but also a mentorship. And the mentorship doesn't just involve me. Right now, like I said, I have never had a client. I've never asked a client to speak with a younger client and them say no to me. If someone was interested in business ownership, right now I actually have a client who graduated 3 years ago, and they're about to become a business owner here in Vancouver. They're basically starting their own practice. I'm pairing him up with other people that I know that are practicing that own dentist clinics here in the lower mainland, so that they could collaborate. And that brings us to something new that I'll be doing in 2021, and that's my mastermind group collaboration for graduated dentists. And that's me setting up a forum so that we could have these mastermind groups and talk with each other about various different topics which are on their mind, so that we could again continue to work as a team. So for those of you who are thinking of becoming my client, we have a lot of exciting things that are going on over here, not only while you're in school, but also after graduation. One of the other big celebrations I'd like to do as well for the fourth years, and I'm going to try this out this year, is to use my membership at the Terminal City Club in order to create sort of a nice dinner, socially distanced venue as a celebration for them and their partner. I'm not sure what the dental school will look like when it comes to the big grad, but I'd like to do a mini version of a celebration for those who are comfortable with it. So that again is also coming up. So again, if anyone had any questions, feel free to log them in over here. But I do slowly want to wrap this up. Um, you know, every year I do this greatest advice ever. And in the previous year, in 2019, we had Michael Sharkowski and Jordan Galpin give the advice. And both of these guys are graduating now. Except when they gave the advice last year, they actually talked about several different things. So one of the ideas that I had is, if someone would like to listen to this it was recorded pretty much the same time last year, but if they would like to hear what those guys had to say last year for the greatest advice ever, email me, fire me an email or a text message, and I will send you this last year's recorded link. Just because the advice, everyone has a different opinion, so I invite you to do that as well. But here, for those of you who are in first year who have already attended our sushi lunch, fantastic. For those of you who want to talk further, we will be in touch. But we've decided to add some new times. So we added some dinner times. So 5:30, if you have not signed up for our sushi lunch, 5:30 p.m. on certain days, go back to the doodle poll. And if you don't have the doodle poll, you could email or text message me and I'll send you the doodle poll. And I hope to see you there, just so we can get to know each other a little bit more. We can only, service no more than tables of 6. And I already know that these new dates have been added, so you can take a look. And for those of you who hate sushi, and one or two people said, yeah, we kind of hate sushi, so we don't want to go to the lunch, but we do want to meet with you, Christian. The gallery on Fridays, it's a little bit more informal, but it is a way for us to communicate as well. So these casuals kind of Fridays, first round of beers are on us. Let us know if you're interested in that. We'll plug in a time on a Friday. So we do want to meet with all of the first years. We want to get to know them, want to get to, hear your stories and what are some of your aspirations. So please sign up or communicate with us, and we'd love to see you again. So I want to sort of conclude over here just because I know that our time has gone a little bit overboard. So again, if you're not on my Instagram, please join because it's a great way to communicate with us at Latitude West Financial. And if you would like to speak with me, set up a time, whether it be on the phone or in person, then my number is 604-202-9178, and text message is the best way to communicate with me. And if you want to email me at cdy@latitude-west.ca. But if you're ready to chat, I would love to have you guys join my community of dentists and dental students. There's a lot of value that I think you can get from the work that my partners and I are doing. But with that, if there was any lingering questions, I don't see any questions over here, but if there was any lingering questions, by all means, you could still email me the question, and then I could pass it forward to Sean, and then we could do our best to answer it. But Sean, I sort of want to end off there, and I want to thank you again for giving all of this great advice. And I hope to see you soon. And I definitely owe you a beer, so hopefully you'll be out on one of the gallery nights as well.
Yep, I'll definitely be there if there's a beer involved.
Yes, sounds good. And whenever you're ready to have our conversation, as you get a little bit closer to finishing as well, just let me know. I'm always there for you, and I'm always excited to get you off in your financial career as well.
Yeah, sounds good. And if any of the people in the webinar here have any questions, they can find me at school, or if you want to know more about the military, just let me know.
Yeah, I guess one last thing, and I think this is probably one of the most important things, is that Sean actually summarized his 4 years of notes on a WordPress URL, and he's making this available to other students, which is fantastic. Definitely a community kind of helping each other activity, which is right up our alley. If anyone would like access to this URL, which essentially is a great study tool because it's a summary of different classes and different topics, then I also encourage that you email me. I will send you the URL. So again, if anyone in first year is interested in accessing Sean's summary of WordPress, Charles Kim with someone else who's also a client of mine who did something similar. So you almost have two different sets of notes that you could rely on. And this just, again, adds is such a great way to summarize the study for tests or to relook at procedures or things of that sort. So if you would like a copy of the URL, please email me at cdy@latitude-west.ca, and I'd be happy to forward it to you. But with that, Sean, I'm going to sign off, and I will be seeing you soon. And for those of you first years, I can't wait to meet all of you. All right. You guys have a great weekend, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you very much.